The basement of La Penta, it's WICR.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're still there, we are now at the main event of the countout. I guess I'd call that. So let's now get right down to business here. The Monday Night Raw following Fastlane. Now, while Fastlane itself was really more of a letdown, the Monday Night Raw after it was great. You know, I'm going to get into some of the stuff here. You know, while the matches themselves weren't necessarily the highlights, some of the segments were. Now you had the first match. I'm not talking about segments, I'm talking about matches. The first match was the New Day against Neville and the Lucha Dragons. Now, the New Day won, but it was a great match, a lot of fun spots there. When the Lucha Dragons and Neville are involved, there's always going to be a lot of fun spots within a match. So that was a really fun one. Then you had another tag team match right after. The Usos defeated the Ascension. 2-minute match. It's whatever. Then you had Chris Jericho and AJ Styles. They defeated the Social Outcasts. Keith Slater and Curtis Axel. And also there was a thing where Chris Jericho actually tried to protect Styles. I'm sorry, that was SmackDown, excuse me. But from what happened on SmackDown along with Raw, it kind of seems like they're actually making a pretty good team. If Chris Jericho and AJ Styles on one team, it'd actually be really formidable. So we'll wait to see what happens there. All right, then you have the Wyatt family against. This is a Fastlane rematch. The Wyatt family against Big Show, Kane, and Ryback. This time, what should have happened at Fastlane happened on Raw, where the Wyatt family actually won the match. But this time actually Bray Wyatt was wrestling on. There was no Braun Strowman, thank goodness. All right, so that then you had Sasha Banks and Naomi. Two very, very talented, athletic female wrestlers. Sasha Banks won, and then you had the main event: Roman Reigns and Sheamus. Now, that match really didn't result to much because it was a disqualification or no contest. But it was what happened after that match that really proved to be most important. So now those were the matches. They were, they were what they were. Then you had the segments now. The segments were really the highlight of Monday Night Raw. The opening segment featured Vince McMahon introducing the Vincent K. McMahon, introducing the Vincent J. McMahon Legacy Award, which is his father's name, of course. And they teased it last week, and I had absolutely no idea what it was for. Like, what kind of legacy you're looking for, like who's eligible to win this award. And so I was a tad bit curious, but I felt like it was a little hokey. I felt like it was a little, something going on. And he basically said his daughter, Stephanie McMahon, won it, and she came out. No one was excited, really. And she was basically going to, do a little speech. And then you heard, "Here comes the money." There's Shane McMahon. Yes, after nearly a decade, Shane McMahon returned, and he had an absolutely thunderous pop from the Detroit crowd. The crowd exploded when he came out. It was honestly a little surreal to see him come out because, he's, when it comes to fans of the Attitude Era and also fans of like the early Ruthless Aggression era, he's truly he's like in wrestling fans' hearts because, he was the guy who didn't have any formal wrestling training and would do some of the craziest spots that even like that actual professional wrestlers, some of them wouldn't even do. And so you had the segment, and then he came out. Vince McMahon, with that being his father, came out, tried to give him a hug. He backed away, and then he went on to go and explain why he's there. He went and basically became the What Culture. He basically was like an embodiment of What Culture. He basically talked about how the ratings are down the drain, the wrestling isn't as good, pummeled with injuries. And he said that he wanted control of Monday Night Raw. Now, at first, that didn't make a whole lot of sense because Monday Night Raw and Thursday Night SmackDown are the same thing. The same performers who are on Raw are on SmackDown. It's not like from 2003 to 2011 where Raw and SmackDown were completely separate, where you have wrestlers who would only appear on SmackDown and wrestlers who would only appear on Raw. You have both appearing on. You have wrestlers appearing on both at the same time. So that really didn't make a lot of sense to me. But, Vince said, okay, fine. You're going to have to fight for it at WrestleMania. And he picked The Undertaker. Now, that one I was a little shaky about. I felt like, isn't really anyone, more qualified? Not qualified, but, I think with someone like The Undertaker, he would have someone a little more deserving. But Vince McMahon then said, Hell in a Cell. And that right there became... That right there basically... It made the fans' mouth water. They were just like, they wanted to see that. Because Shane McMahon has always proved that he can do what people don't think he can. Whether it was his spot at WrestleMania 17 where he jumped from one turnbuckle to the complete other side of the ring and, there was a trash can on Vince McMahon, and he basically went from ring to ring, coast to coast. That was something that no one knew Shane could really do. I mean, we know now because that was years ago. That was actually when I was probably like 5. But I rewatched it because I had the network, of course. But, that right there really proves that Shane can actually hold his own in the ring. And him going up against The Undertaker really is a big deal. Now, the one issue that might come is who are the fans supposed to cheer for? They want to cheer for The Undertaker because he's a legend. He's one of the greatest. And they don't want to see someone else, beat his streak because Lesnar already did that. And they don't want to see people like, Triple H lose twice or 3 times, Shawn Michaels lose, and Batista lose, and Kane lose 3 times, guys like that, and then have Shane McMahon win. It just seems a little strange. But, with the stakes, I feel like you the streak is already ruined because of Lesnar. It's already, because of Lesnar, the streak doesn't really matter anymore because he beat it. So that's why Bray Wyatt's match with Undertaker at WrestleMania 30 wasn't really that big. Now, or was that 31? Wow, I'm drawing a blank here. It was 31 because Sting fought Triple H. I thought Sting fought Undertaker didn't happen. So his match at WrestleMania 31 didn't really mean much, but, happened. So this match actually has some, but the thing I'm a little worried about is why is Undertaker even deciding to take part in this? Now, he's going to appear on Raw on Monday, and he's going to probably explain, he doesn't talk much usually, but he's going to have to explain why he chose to be in this match. Is he heel? Is he face? Still don't know. That was the first segment that really, made Raw very entertaining on Monday. And the second segment would be Brock Lesnar and Dean Ambrose now. Obviously, Lesnar doesn't do the talking Paul Heyman does. Paul Heyman came out, did his typical spiel about Lesnar being the beast and how he's going to destroy Dean Ambrose or whatever. And so before the show started, Brock Lesnar actually attacked Dean Ambrose. It's wrestling at stage, of course. But he attacked him. He actually had to go to the hospital. I don't think he actually went to a real hospital, of course. But kayfabe-wise, he had to go to the hospital. And while Lesnar was speaking, while Heyman was speaking, Ambrose came out. You heard some honking horns, and Lesnar came out in an ambulance. And I've seen that before. Lesnar came out. Man, I gotta get these names right. Dean Ambrose came out before when the show was in Long Island, SmackDown. Came out in an NYPD, paddy wagon, one of the police vans. And so he's done this before. And so he came out in an ambulance, and he went face-to-face with Lesnar. He got F5, typical. But the fact that Ambrose doesn't seem scared of Lesnar is really proving that the WrestleMania match is really going to be a big deal. And this is actually when Dean Ambrose decided that he wants to fight Lesnar in a street fight at WrestleMania. So he's basically going to fight a beast who very few people can beat in a street fight. Now, Ambrose can get destroyed, but best believe he will probably get back up because that's his whole gimmick, really. He just keeps on fighting no matter what. He's basically invincible. That's his whole gimmick, that he can get beaten and battered and still, get right back up. So that is going to prove to be a very good WrestleMania match, or at least I hope so. It seems like it on paper, but we'll see. Then you have the last one, which I'm going to talk about here. Now it's the main event of Raw, which was Roman Reigns and Sheamus. The match itself, who cares? But the match was going, and then you heard Triple H's music, time to play the game, and they were brawling at first, and then it turned into an absolute decimation of Roman Reigns. Triple H got a hold of him, started slamming his head on the announcer's table multiple times, and he started quote unquote bleeding. They used a blood capsule, so it's not real blood. But I guess they have to keep the wrestlers safe now, which makes sense. But, just to give the illusion, he started bleeding, and then Triple H pedigreed him on top of the steel stairs. Then he did the little Roman Reigns Superman punch thing, and then the DX chop. And so that proved to be really cool. Triple H came out with the leather jacket and the jeans. That usually means that he's ready to, go back to his old ways and, kick some, can't say it, but, well, maybe I can, but I'm not. But that segment really proved to actually build up some hype for the WrestleMania match for the title. Because, Triple H at first was really mostly absent as champion, but now he's starting to make more appearances on Raw. He was on SmackDown even. So now this match actually means something. Obviously, it's for the WWE title, but now fans are more invested. And another thing that is a little concerning this is concerning for Vince because he wants to push Roman Reigns to be like the big baby face that everyone cheers for. When Roman Reigns was getting pummeled, people were cheering, and people were chanting Triple H's name, and they were just chanting a whole bunch of things that were pretty much anti-Roman Reigns, and this is basically 2015 all over again. When he won a Royal Rumble, fans booed him like crazy, and I don't know, even after a year, even after having Reigns not win the title at WrestleMania last year, giving him a short title reign, he still just can't win. The fans just cannot get behind him, and so that's a little concerning, really. The creative team has to find something to get Roman Reigns to be liked. I mentioned this earlier. Heel turn. Actually, that's gonna be like kind of the whole John Cena effect, where if John Cena turns heel because people wanted it so much, they're probably gonna cheer him instead of being booed, which is the whole point of being a heel. But they have to do something with Roman because he's almost like too overexposed, and fans just can't get behind him. Now, I usually don't talk about the crowd on Raws, but because the crowd in Cleveland for Fastlane was so bad, the Detroit crowd in Monday Night Raw was excellent. They seem like a hardcore crowd, like the Chicago Phillies in New York typically, and they were just 100 times better than the crowd in Cleveland, which is really not that hard to do. Well, Cleveland and Fastlane anyway. But so overall, the Raw was actually really, really, really entertaining. You have Shane McMahon, Undertaker. They're both gonna make appearances on Raw next week. So this is, hopefully with these guys back, this could really prove to be like a streak of Monday Night Raw, of good ratings from Monday Night Raw. Really, this is usually around the time when Monday Night Raw would be at its all-time high in terms of entertainment value, because this is before WrestleMania. That's usually when, the creative team is usually at their peak when it comes to booking and writing and making these entertaining, because they want people to watch WrestleMania. They want people to get hyped for it. Because every other time of the year it's just like dud, whatever. Usually around WrestleMania or around SummerSlam is when the creative team is usually at their best. So this will probably prove to be a streak of very entertaining Monday Night Raws. At least we hope. Maybe someone. I'm still a little iffy about Shane McMahon and Undertaker at WrestleMania, even if it's a Hell in a Cell. I somehow feel like Shane is gonna have someone fight for him because it's Hell in a Cell. It's no DQ, doesn't matter. That might be John Cena. We all know how John Cena is basically invincible. He would come back. He'd be slated to be out for 6 months and would come back in like 2. We know how he is. So we'll see what happens there. But overall, that Monday Night Raw was very entertaining. Hopefully, this will continue. So that is it for this week. I am newly named Bobby Baez. Iona College's voice of professional wrestling, and I will see you next Friday.